Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lauren. I do random content on my channel whenever I can. So last summer and during Thanksgiving break, I had wanted to tackle the Ever After High Iceberg and make a video on it. However, I was really preoccupied with school and stuff for college that I needed to focus on, so I didn't have the time to do it. Since I have finally graduated, thank God, I am now able to come back and make an Iceberg video for you all, as it has been a real hot minute since my last one. One thing I don't think I mentioned to you all was I actually was mentioned on a post on Reddit to tackle someone's Ever After High Iceberg that they had made a couple of months back, and it really surprised me, as I never expected to be mentioned on any app, to be honest, and it makes me really happy to see that. So shout out to cute_Pikachu for this iceberg image, and thank you so much for helping me with some of the topics in this iceberg. I really appreciate your help, and you did a fantastic job on this iceberg, and thank you so much for mentioning me to talk about your iceberg. I also want to add in that there is going to be an added layer at the bottom of the iceberg, as I wanted to add in some topics that I had found long before the creation of this iceberg. Lastly, I guess you can say that there will be a spoiler warning for this video, since it has to do with Ever After High being a show. So just gonna put that out there just in case some of y'all have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyways, without further ado, sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and let's get ready to tackle the Ever After High Iceberg. The dolls. The Ever After High dolls made their debut on July 2013 as a companion line to the Monster High doll series that Mattel also produced. Compared to its monster sister line, Ever After High followed with the fairy tale trope, showing the sons and daughters of fairy tale legends. Apple White. Apple is one of the main characters in Ever After High and one of the main royals, being the daughter of Snow White. Growing up, I really did not like Apple's character, as I always felt that she was selfish, but that's a topic for the next layer. Raven Queen. Raven is another main character in Ever After High and one of the main rebels, being the daughter of the evil queen. From the beginning, Raven does not want to follow in her mother's footsteps and wants to write her own destiny, which is mainly what follows her throughout the series. She was hands down my favorite character, and I loved her drive that she possessed to be herself. Briar Beauty. Briar is the daughter of Sleeping Beauty, Apple's best friend, and is another one of the royals, however is pretty skeptical on whether or not to follow her mother's footsteps, as she doesn't want to miss her friends. Honestly, she is one of my favorite characters as well as Raven, and I think she was the first Ever After High doll I had ever gotten. Yeah, she was the first doll I had, and I had gotten her after my 5th dance recital, I think. I can't remember if it was my 4th or my 5th, but it was somewhere when I was 9, I think. I think I still have her, so if I still have the doll, I'll show her in this video. Okay, so I found my Briar doll, the one I was telling you all about. This is the Throne Coming doll. Excuse it, it's like about 10 years old, so this was the dress in pretty good condition. The little thing I think snapped off the cape, but that was the cape. Yeah, I think everything's still with it except of course the book and stuff. So she was the first doll I had and the only Legacy Day doll I had gotten. Let me go see if I can find the others. Madeline Hatter. Madeline, or Maddie, is the daughter of the Mad Hatter, a rebel, and is Raven's best friend. I love her upbeat and goofy personality and always found her as an amazing comic relief in the entire show. Honestly, stan Maddie for clear skin. Royals and Rebels. The Royals are the ones who side with Apple in following their destinies, while the Rebels want to write their own destinies just like Raven. However, for the longest time, I always interpreted the Royal and Rebel difference to be this. Royals are usually classified as the sons and daughters who are born from royal parents, such as Apple White being the daughter of Snow White and Daring Charming being the son of Prince Charming. Rebels, on the other hand, vary on whether or not the parent was a villain, such as Raven Queen being the daughter of the evil queen, or if the character was not of royal descent, such as Madeline Hatter, the daughter of the Mad Hatter, or if the character chooses not to follow their parents' destiny. Webisodes and special/movies. Just like Monster High, Ever After High had their own webisodes that can be found on the brand's YouTube channel. I remember watching these over and over growing up, and I really enjoyed them. I think I had kind of already stopped watching once the games arc started happening, because I think that was around the time when I already started growing out of dolls. But anyways, some of the really well-known webisodes/specials that were shown were the True Hearts Day, Throne Coming, and Legacy Day. And I strongly believe that Throne Coming was my favorite out of all of them. Ever After High website. The Ever After High website was probably one of the biggest memories I can recall growing up, as I would be on there creating my many Rebel avatars, as I could never remember my account names and passwords, and my avatars would always look a little too much like Raven, just in a different color. Anyways, the site went live on May 30th, 2013, and it contained games such as My Dorm Room, where you could customize your room, Book and Boutique, where you could create your avatar once you signed up, and many other games, quizzes, and episodes. As of August 2020, the website has since shut down, and the URL link will take you to Mattel's website instead. Checking the website, it is still a running website for Ever After High. However, it is not what it once was. So when you go to the Ever After High website now, there's mainly just episodes. That's kind of it. But it could be worse. I think when I talked about the Monster High website in my Monster High Iceberg, it was completely gone. So it could always be worse, but of course it'll never be the same. Merchandise. The merchandise that Mattel made varied from dolls to playsets such as Briar's Room to toys such as the Storybook of Legends journal. Overall, there was a lot of merchandise. I remember owning shirts, the jewelry box thingamabob. I had a sweater, like the royal sweater, and I had the little compact mirror. I don't know if any of y'all remember it. I would show it, but I have sadly sold all my stuff in a garage sale. This sounds similar to when I talked about selling stuff in my Wings Club Iceberg and how I remember the merchandise and the dolls, and I got rid of some of them. But anyways, I know that Mattel, just like how it did for Monster High, they heavily profited off of the merch made with the toy line's name on it. So Mattel heavily profited off of Ever After High's merchandise, just like Monster High, because it's something you can really sell. Netflix series. Apparently, for a while, Netflix had the rights to seasons 1 through 5 of Ever After High that were repackaged onto the site. However, back in 2020, the series had been pulled off of Netflix, and all that remains is the TV movie Epic Winter, which has its own criticisms that we will get into later. Books. To what I can recall, Ever After High had 2 main book series written throughout its run. I'm unaware on if there are any other book series that were written after the fact, but all I remember is there being 2 predominantly successful book series when I was into Ever After High. The first series, written by Shannon Hale, consisted of the books The Storybook of Legends, The Unfairest of Them All, A Wonderlandful World, Once Upon a Time, and The Legend of Shadow High, the Ever After High and Monster High crossover book. I remember having and reading all of these except for The Legend of Shadow High, as I had already grew out of my Ever After High phase, so I never got the book. The second series, written by Suzanne Selfers, was titled Ever After High, A School Story, which consisted of the books Next Top Villain, Kiss and Spell, A Semi-Charming Kind of Life, Fairy's Got Talent, Truth or Hair, Fairy Tale Ending, and Once Upon a Pet, a sister to Monster High. As mentioned in the first entry, Ever After High is a sister line to Monster High, as both of them are owned by the same company, Mattel, which produced both Monster High and Ever After High's webisode series and ran the doll lines. Because of the shared similarity that both of the series had when it came to the children of fictional characters/entities, many fans, including myself, had long awaited a possible crossover between the two. Cupid crosses between worlds from Monster High to Ever After High.
Behold C.A. Cupid, adopted daughter of Eros, the god of love.
She currently attends Monster High, but is about to discover that another school is in need of her very special...
Cupid was at one point the only indicator that Monster High and Ever After High reside in a shared universe, as shown by Cupid's debut episode in Ever After High, Here Comes Cupid. She was at one point a Monster High character, and I can recall distinctly because my sister, she was a fan of Monster High, I was a fan of Ever After High. So I remember we watched the episode of Ever After High together, and she was like, hey, isn't she in Monster High? And then we heard the Monster High comment made, and we're like, oh my god, they're probably connected. And as you can recall, Cupid was brought up a lot in the Monster High movies. She had her own scenes. So, you know, it was a pretty big deal at the time. You just had to be there. It was a really big deal at the time. Monster High and Ever After High crossover.
All the lands, all the high schools that we thought were just stories, they're real!
So it is true.
Stop.
What at one
This
point was the most
Coachella
anticipated crossover
2016.
between two
This
doll
was
lines,
vibe at
the Ever
time,
After
okay?
High
You
and
need to
Monster High
understand.
crossover was meant to finally show the characters coexisting with one another. The crossover was going to be named Fairy Tale and was supposed to be released in late 2016, following the Gen 2 reboot of Monster High. However, with Ever After High's cancellation, the crossover was canceled as well. Apple hate. Oh my gosh, I can recall that I strongly did not like Apple's character, and growing up, I actually wasn't really aware of the amount of hate that Apple had until I got older and saw that other people didn't like her as well for similar reasons. Apple would constantly talk about herself and her story and how she'll become queen, which showed a lot of selfishness within her character.
I want to write my own destiny. And to be honest, when it comes to this, I think you're being selfish.
You think I'm being selfish?
All you care about is your own happily ever after.
Flashback.
Briar, it's not just about the party. This is Destiny, future queen.
Why are you doing this for Raven?
Because she's such an important part of my story. When she poisons me, it changes everything. Then the prince can wake me, and I become queen. That's when I get my happily ever after. Follow my destiny as the next Snow White.
Perfect.
He never poisons me, then I'll never fall asleep. And I'll never be kissed by my prince. And I'll never become queen. And I'll never have my happily ever after.
End of flashback.
I'm going to mention that all of those scenes, except for the first clip, were all from the same episode. That should tell you something right there. So yeah, a lot of fans didn't like her for that main reason. Are you a royal or rebel? A question that pandered to fans' preference was the choice on if they were a royal or rebel. I remember that I would always pick rebel and even do those little quizzes just to see if I was a rebel, which I was, since I would always make sure I picked the choices that the rebels would pick. So I was one of those people, y'all. LGBTQ plus headcanons. Just like with any show, there were many headcanons on whether certain characters were a part of the LGBTQ plus community. Also, real quick, since we're on the topic, I do want to say Happy Pride Month to any of my LGBTQ plus fans out there. Hope you guys have an amazing month. Anyways, back to it. Many characters were shipped together like Apple and Raven, and most notably, Apple and Darling. Darling and Apple are said to be the two characters that many people headcanon to be a part of the LGBTQ plus community. Darling is Apple's Destiny Charming. When it was revealed that Daring is not Apple's Prince Charming as he couldn't wake her up, Darling goes in, kisses Apple, waking her up, hence showing that Darling is Apple's Destiny lover.
And we shall live happily ever after.
Soft reboot. Growing up, a lot of my favorite shows like Wings Club and Monster High went from interesting lore to a more childlike persona, and Ever After High sadly fell into this category before its cancellation. The soft reboot occurs around the time where Ever After High seemed to downgrade and be a bit more childlike in nature and dolls. You can see an obvious decline in the dolls' faces and structure. This also included a whole new trope. All princesses are powerful. This trope replaced the royal or rebel narrative that Ever After High was based on. It was applied onto all the new doll boxes created during the soft reboot. Overall, it seemed like a rebrand of the doll line in order to appeal to children and appease parents, similar to that of the Monster High Gen 2 reboot. Other Ever After High playsets. Ever After High had released several playsets such as the Dollhouse, Apple's Couch, Raven's Vanity, Briar's Room/Party Room, Lizzie's Room, and many, many more. South Diego Comic-Con, Target, and Toys R Us exclusive dolls. Some stores had sold exclusive dolls such as Toys R Us selling the date night dolls, which included Raven and Dexter. However, the most well-known was probably the 3 dolls that were released at the 2015 San Diego Comic-Con, which consisted of Raven, Cedar, and Cerise as their parents. Raven was dressed as the evil queen, Cedar was dressed as Pinocchio, and Cerise was dressed as the big bad wolf. Rare dolls. I think the rare dolls vary nowadays, such as owning the Legacy Day dolls, the original outfit dolls, and probably the Throne Coming dolls would be considered rare to come by now, as these were some of the original dolls sold prior to the reboot. Other dolls can also be considered rare, such as the Comic-Con dolls that we just talked about. Voting campaign for Throne Coming King and Queen. In 2014, during Ever After High's Throne Coming special, fans were able to vote on which character they wanted to win Throne Coming. The nominees were Raven Queen, Apple White, Blondie Locks, and CA Cupid. Videos were made of each character winning and were shown in the country where the character won. Raven won in the USA, Latin America, the UK, Romania, Hungary, Israel, Spain, Brazil, Portugal, Croatia, Bulgaria, the Netherlands, France, Poland, Greece, Estonia, Italy, and Turkey. Cupid won in Slovenia and the Ukraine, the web version. Apple won in Ukraine, the TV version, and Blondie won in Germany. Videos exist of each character winning in their respective language. However, apparently, I don't know if it's considered quote-unquote lost media to find the original ones dubbed in the certain language. When searching up Ever After High Throne Coming for this video, I was brought to a post in the r/lost media section of Reddit by the user Emily Montes, who posted this about 11 months ago in the subreddit saying, Ever After High lost endings, Throne Coming Queen partially lost. To be honest, I had no idea that Ever After High in general had lost media. So interestingly enough, I went digging just to see. So this is what the post reads. While rewatching Ever After High, I saw the episode about Throne Coming, in which Raven Queen wins Throne Coming Queen. Before it aired, there was an online contest to vote for who you wanted to win, between Raven, Apple White, Blondie Locks, and CA Cupid. Like, I thought the other endings were animated, but only ever released in a few countries. Like, only about one for each. The animations are available on YouTube, but with no sound for copyright. But even though there is no sound, according to the Ever After High wiki, it wouldn't be in English, but of the language of the country it aired in. I'm pretty sure they recorded at least the English dubs for these, because that is the case for most of these different endings in cartoons, like what SpongeBob and Total Drama did. To reiterate, the animations themselves aren't lost, but 3/4 of the English dubs are. At first, I thought it had to do with the missing dubs in Blondie's, Cupid's, and Apple's in their respective languages for what country they won in. However, you can find those on YouTube, so that's not the case. And then I also thought that it could have to do with Raven's clip, because Raven won in so many countries. But I don't think it's the case either, and apparently it's having to do with Blondie's, Cupid's, Apple's, and Raven's all in English. So, I don't know. I think this needs a whole video on itself, so let me know if you all want to see a video about this. Maddie can hear the narrators. It was revealed that the Wonderland characters, Maddie and Kitty, can hear the narrators unlike the rest of the Ever After High characters. According to the Ever After High wiki, the Wonderlandian magic which manifests in her is how she can do impossible things if she doesn't know that they are impossible. She sometimes has visions of other times and other places. She can read people's thoughts as well as being able to hear the narrators, something which her peers don't believe her on. Epic Winter / Crystal Hate. The 2016 Epic Winter movie was heavily criticized as it came around the time of the soft reboot that Mattel was pushing for Ever After High, with many saying it was of lower quality compared to the webisode specials released. The movie also released its own line of dolls, which were also criticized when it came to their own quality. As for Crystal, many either found her boring or didn't like her storyline, and that she was introduced at a bad time in the show due to the quality decreasing. Roybell. A Roybell is a mix of royal and rebel tendencies. This was first shown to us in the Season 2 webisode Poppy the Roybell. According to the Ever After High wiki, Roybells are a mix of both the royals and the rebels. Roybells typically embrace their story's legacy, but there are things that they wish to rewrite within their stories. Poppy is the most notable Roybell at Ever After High. Brooke Page. Brooke Page is the daughter of the two narrators and is the name of the Ever After High logo. I honestly had no idea the logo even had a name, so that's pretty interesting to know about. Cerise has to hide her family secret. In the webisode The Cat Who Cried Wolf, it is revealed for the first time that Cerise's parents were Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf, which explains Cerise's fast speed and her wolf ears that she has to hide. Not as popular as Monster High. Compared to Monster High, Ever After High hadn't been around for a long time. Monster High came out in 2010, while Ever After High came out in 2013. Monster High had much more merchandise, specials, and more publicity than Ever After High. For example, some Monster High webisodes and even the movies were shown on Nickelodeon, so that also pushed the series to many kids, unlike Ever After High, which was only on YouTube. Ever After High's cancellation. It's no secret that Ever After High was canceled. Sometime in 2016, Ever After High had discontinued its production of the Ever After High line, and ironically, it was around the time that Disney had released Descendants. Disney was the reason why Ever After High ended. This is also no secret that Descendants was the cause of Ever After High being cancelled, mainly due to similarities between the two regarding the whole quote-unquote children of fairy tale figures idea. Descendants came out in 2015, however, it had begun production back in December of 2013, around the time when Ever After High was released. Disney most likely announced Descendants with the intent to quote-unquote beat Mattel. Realistically speaking, Mattel wasn't going to be able to compete with Disney, especially coupled with the fact that Mattel had been making the Ever After High dolls lower quality, which harmed the brand as they couldn't profit off of it. Ever After High was the reason why the Disney license was taken away from Mattel. So a little backstory prior to Descendants coming out. Mattel and Disney at one point had a partnership where Mattel would create the Disney Princess line. Around 2013, Mattel and Disney parted ways, likely due to Ever After High being released in July of 2013. However, Descendants began production in December of 2013. Most likely, a dispute occurred between Disney and Mattel prior to the release of Ever After High, as Disney may have told Mattel not to release Ever After High as Descendants was a planned concept that Disney was working on. And when Mattel went through with Ever After High, Disney took the license from them. Briar will sleep for 100 years. Being the daughter of Sleeping Beauty, if Briar were to follow through with her destiny, then she will have to sleep for 100 years. Characters / outfits that didn't get dolls. I remember that many characters made appearances in Ever After High and they didn't have their own dolls, such as Hopper, Humphrey, Sparrow, and the Evil Queen, just to name a few. And I had wondered why they never made dolls for them, because, profiting, you can make so much money off of that. And two, because I wanted those dolls for my dollhouse. The division within the narrators. The narrators have different ideals, which I always assumed was based on one narrator being for the rebels and one being for the royals. So like the guy narrator was for the rebels and the girl narrator was for the royals. Hence why they have bickering and arguing from time to time. Apple White doesn't deserve the hate. Okay, let's talk about this. Like mentioned earlier, I think many of us probably didn't like her. I, for one, did not and strongly believed that she was selfish and really only cared about her own destiny and her own future despite everyone else's future. Here's an opinion about Apple from Reddit Bullion titled My Views on Apple White. I don't think Apple understands what her friends have to give up for their happily ever after. She sleeps for a week and then gets her happy ending. Ashlyn will spend years as a servant being mistreated. Briar will sleep for 100 years and lose all of her friends and family. She will wake up completely alone. Raven gets locked up in prison. Duchess becomes a swan forever. A lot of these princesses have to suffer horribly to get their happiness, and in Raven's and Duchess' case, no happiness. Their lives are completely ruined to make sure someone else gets to be happy. And what do they get in return? Nothing. I think Apple is focused on everyone playing their part. She's forgotten what they have to sacrifice. Giving Apple the benefit of the doubt, I honestly think it could be pressure from her mother, Snow White. Deluxe dolls. Mattel had made a few deluxe dolls throughout its line, with the most notable being the Apple and Raven School Spirit pack, and probably also the Ashlyn and Hunter pack. Ever After High is not as good as Monster High. I think this does vary on who you talk to. For example, my sister and I were the Mattel fanatics. She was the Monster High fan while I was the Ever After High fan. And we both like both shows. Like, I like Monster High, she likes Ever After High, we alternated like that. Monster High really appealed to my sister with the outfits, movies, etc. So she was more the Monster High fan, especially because we would see on Nickelodeon. Overall, Monster High had more promotion as it was a longer lasting toy line rather than Ever After High. Hence why people may say that Ever After High wasn't as good. Re-releases were of lower quality. Yes, this does not need any more explanation. It's obvious right there. This can be extremely compared to how the original Monster High looked to the Gen 2 Monster High. Literally, just look at it. There are different charming families. I genuinely thought that this had to do with something that really confused me growing up while I watched the show. That, Apple's mom is Snow White, and in the original tale, Snow White marries Prince Charming. So doesn't that make Apple and Daring related or something? But it's not. That's not what this is about. This is about a scene in an episode featuring Blondie where Dexter and Daring are explaining how there are several charming families within Ever After High and the Ever After High society. So it's this clip right here.
And so, even though we share the same name, we are not related to the Charmings of Nottingham Forest. Or the Charmings of Never After.
Or even the Charmings who came over on the Charmflower.
The fake Storybook of Legends. The Storybook of Legends was revealed to be a fake during the Thronecoming special, when Cedar tells Raven as she's about to sign it.
Thronecoming pranks are a traditional occurrence.
This isn't a prank! My revealer rays only tell the truth, and that is not the real Storybook of Legends!
So apparently, the Storybook of Legends may have always been a fake. According to the Ever After High wiki, shortly after the Evil Queen finished attending Ever After High, she returned and stole the Storybook of Legends, replacing it with a fake and hiding the real book in a secret compartment in her old dorm room, before she was arrested for the crime. No one found out the book had been switched until much later. It was then revealed to be a fake during Thronecoming. The storybook was later found by Briar Beauty, but not wanting her destiny, she threw it into the Well of Wonder, and it ended up in the sealed-off realm of Wonderland, where it was found by Alistair Wonderland and Bunny Blanc. Alistair and Bunny tried to return the book to Ever After High, but it was switched by the Cheshire Cat for a book of riddles before they got the chance. Holly and Poppy were mistaken at birth. In the webisode O'Hare Split Ends,
the more smog in the sky, the more people will buy.
It's revealed that Poppy is the older twin who is supposed to be the next Rapunzel, not Holly. However, the two decide to keep the mix-up their secret so they can both have what they want.
Nanny Nana mixed up our birth certificates, and you're the younger twin.
What?
But that means
I'm supposed to be the next Rapunzel, not you.
But I liked being the next Rapunzel.
And I liked being something else.
Wait, does anyone else know about this?
No?
Then what do you say we just keep it as our secret? That way we can both have the destinies we want.
Switched at birth theory. The switched at birth theory created by the YouTuber _fairytale_vibes_ has to do with Apple and Raven. So the theory in shorter terms takes many pieces of evidence from the books and the webisodes to condense it, such as in the first Ever After High book by Shannon Hale. It makes mention that Apple was the first Snow White ever to be born with platinum blonde hair. While in the Snow White story, Snow White is supposed to have raven black hair and snow white skin, similar to that of how Raven looks. A comparison can be drawn to that of in the Dragon Game special, the evil queen has platinum blonde hair and Snow White has black hair. Another example can be when Apple talks to a mirror. We see her talk to a mirror in one episode asking who is the fairest of them all.
Mirror, mirror, so smart and cool. Who's the fairest at this school?
You are Apple White.
Snow White never asks that in her story, but you know who does? The evil queen. So yeah, many types of evidence comes into play here that this whole theory needs its own video to talk about, which I may think about talking about and giving my own opinion in it. So if you all are interested in learning more about this theory, I'll link Fairy Tale Vibes video down below and tell me what you guys think about this theory. I would love to hear it. Milton trapped his brother into the basement and cursed him to only speak Riddleish. According to the Ever After High wiki, Giles Grimm is the brother of Headmaster Milton Grimm. Giles was meant to run the school with his brother Milton, but because of a difference in opinion over the students being allowed to change their destinies, Milton cursed Giles with a babbling spell and locked him in the Vault of Lost Tales. Even though Giles spoke Riddleish, which according to Madeline Hatter is not an exact language, he is an important character as he knows the truth about the Storybook of Legends. Unreleased dolls. There were 3 doll lines that were meant to be released in 2017. However, sadly, they were scrapped last minute. These 3 doll lines were the changeable color hair Michelle Mermaid, Deluxe Apple White, Holly O'Hare, and Ferrara Godmother, and lastly, budget dolls Raven Queen, Madeline Hatter, and Darling Charming. If the characters don't sign the book, they could die. This is like the main argument that Headmaster Grimm uses to convince all the students to sign the Storybook of Legends. So if they don't sign it, they'll go quote-unquote poof, which to what we understand is that it could mean that they die. I really wish the series got a little more into this because something tells me that them dying was not the case at all, that nothing would actually happen to them. But, you know, we never got to actually know that. Briar will lose her friends. Because Briar's destiny is to sleep for 100 years, just like her mother, Briar will outlive her friends, similar to the Draculaura theory that Draculaura will outlive her friends because she's a vampire. The evil queen cursed Wonderland. According to the Ever After High wiki, the evil queen took over Wonderland and put a curse on it. Wonderland became poisoned, causing the Wonderlandians to leave their homeland and flee to the world of Ever After. As of Way to Wonderland, the curse was lifted by Raven. Ramona is a coping mechanism for Cerise theory. This theory, posted in the r/Ever After High subreddit by Redditor Abarid, brings a possibility that Ramona is just a figment of Cerise's imagination in order to cope. This theory also stems from the fact that Cerise was intended to be an only child in the beginning of Ever After High, proven by a scene where Cerise's family are having a picnic and it's only Cerise and her parents. The theory is pretty long, so I will be using a shorter version of the theory. The comment, "Give me your Ramona Bad Wolf headcanons," was made in the r/Ever After High subreddit, and Abarid gives a theory which states, "Sadly, she is synonymous with the soft reboot of the franchise and the story going downhill. Cerise's story was changed to include Ramona as Cerise was clearly written to be an only child. My headcanon, and many others know this, is that Ramona simply doesn't exist in a literal sense. She is a tupa created by Cerise's dwindling mental health brought on by the events of Way to Wonderland. Ramona is aware of the fact that she doesn't exist. Ramona is aware that once Cerise comes to terms and accepts the truth that she is the big bad wolf, that Ramona would have to go away. Ramona has gone out of her way to keep Cerise from learning her story, keeping her sister in the dark. Ramona loves being alive, and she wants to play quote-unquote pretend as long as she can. The original theory is on the r/fan theories subreddit and is much longer, and deserves a whole video on its own. I'd like to hear what you all think about this theory down below because I personally find it very, very interesting. Milton and Snow White manipulated Apple. It seems very plausible that Apple may have been manipulated, mainly due to how much they push Apple's destiny on her, especially her mother during the Dragon Game special. I think this is a perfect example of how her mom could have done a lot in manipulating Apple by hanging her destiny over her head. The same goes for Headmaster Grimm. Especially when he tries to get Raven to sign, he tries to get Apple to convince Raven, all while holding Apple's destiny over her head, saying if Raven doesn't sign, Apple won't get her destiny. Shadow High. Shadow High is in reference to the crossover novel by Shannon Hale, titled The Legend of Shadow High. This is the only crossover that we as fans have. 3D prototype of the Lost movie. According to the Monster High wiki, the Lost movie was a movie meant for late 2016, and therefore to be the 14th TV special for Monster High. Its working title and possible intended name is Fairy Tale. It was left unfinished at about 3/4 of the rough draft due to the cancellation of Ever After High and the reboot of Monster High. But the Monster High YouTube channel uploaded voice storyboard sequences from May 6th to July 29th of 2016. It was meant to be the first ever After High production to be produced in CGI animation, just like the Monster High TV specials do. Duchess will die at the end of her story. Duchess Swan is the daughter of the Swan Princess.
What else is there?
So her story follows the story of Swan Lake. Off topic, I am such a big fan of Swan Lake. I even did the ballet last month for my final ballet dance where I was the White Swan. So yeah, special moment for me, guys. I love Swan Lake, especially the ballet telling of it. So for those of you who may not know, Odette, the Swan Princess, dies in the original telling by taking her own life in a lake. And since Duchess is destined to be the next Swan Princess, she will die at the end of her story. Milton wants the characters to follow their destinies to keep the royals in power. I have wondered this for years! Headmaster Grimm seems to hold so much more respect for the royals rather than the rebels, and I have noticed that favoritism and nepotism growing up, but I thought I was just looking a little too much into it, a little too much into a children's show, but it makes sense, doesn't it, guys? Milton constantly praises the royals who will be the next future leaders in the storybook realm, like when he made the comment to Apple, my future queen, and everything. He constantly uplifts them and you rarely see him mad at them. As for the rebels, he holds them to a much lower standard and he speaks down on them, mainly because one, the rebels don't really consist of anybody who's gonna hold any type of hierarchy power, and two, the rebels are mainly villains. Also, in some sense, the rebels can be villains or just other characters who don't have a significant royal status. So he holds them a little lower, guys. Hierarchy in Ever After High society. Oh my god, I strongly believe that this is heavily prevalent in the Ever After High society, especially with the royals and rebels. Just the overall treatment, like I mentioned earlier, that Headmaster Grimm has towards the rebels over the royals is pretty evident. For example, he treats Apple up here compared to Raven, who's down in the pits of hell. He seems to really treat the rebels at a lower standard, regardless on if they plan to follow their destinies or not. And what's the reason, you all may ask? Nepotism. Okay, no, it's not nepotism. Well, to an extent it could be. But because the royals, like we talked about in the last one, are gonna be the next future leaders. Y'all already know he wants to get in some good standings. The evil queen took over the Dark Fairy's role. There are two times where this seems to be mentioned. The first occurs in the timeline made by the redditor Abarid in the r/EverAfterHigh subreddit. This occurs around the time where the evil queen waged her war on the fairy tale community. Stealing the role of the dark fairy from Fable's mother, she forces Sleeping Beauty to fall asleep prematurely. The second time it's mentioned is in the book The Storybook of Legends, if I'm not mistaken. It was confirmed that the evil queen took over the fairy's role by using magic. This was so she could get more control over other fairy tales and have more power. Fairy tale characters are living beings. Okay, this one is sort of hard to explain. The fairy tale characters are actually sentient, like they are not just characters in a book, they are normal people. This is mostly proven by the fact that Ever After High used to be connected to Monster High, in which there are normal human beings, meaning that Ever After High characters have the same emotions and feelings just like those human beings. So for example, you know how there is a human world in Monster High, and how Frankie and all the monsters are just like those humans in the sense of emotions and mentality, just not really physically due to the obvious differences. So this could be compared to Ever After High, where the characters are just like humans as well, making them quote-unquote living beings, similar to the Monster High characters being just like humans. Guru and Mattel allegations. Many Guru employees accused Mattel for abruptly canceling Ever After High without them knowing. Basically, when Guru was making new episodes for Ever After High, Mattel never told them they had already canceled the franchise. And what happened after was that Guru found out and tried to contact Mattel about what they should do with the unfinished episodes. But Mattel wouldn't reply back and just ignored their messages and emails, which just led to the actual confirmation of Ever After High's cancellation. The many plot holes of Cupid. To be very honest to all of you, I was unaware of the many plot holes that Cupid has, until I had to do research for this video. So according to the site tvtropes.org, it makes mention to many things in Ever After High that either have plot holes or just straight up don't make sense. In Cupid's case, here's 3 things the site had to say. Number 1, in C.A. Cupid's diary, she mentions her aunt Aphrodite. Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love and beauty, is generally depicted as the mother of Eros. So going by this, that would technically make her Cupid's grandmother, not her aunt, unless the series canonically chose to go by different interpretations of the myths. Maybe since she's adopted, she just refers to all the gods and goddesses that are not her dad as aunt or uncle to avoid confusion. Given how closely related all the Greek gods are, thanks a lot, Zeus. Yeah, it would probably be easier for Cupid to refer to most of them as aunt/uncle. Number 2, how did Cupid accumulate so well to Ever After? I mean, we should hear her use the slang from her old school on accident. All we get is a brief shot of her old form, and then she takes to the place like a duck to water. It is possible that since Cupid probably knew where she was going, she might have gotten at least a bit familiarized before going there. That or Milton Grimm filled her in on what not to do. In her basic diary, she does slip up a few times. Perhaps the world's native magic influenced her mind as well as her body. Number 3, in Cupid's diary, she laments the fact that she doesn't have a fated lover. But there is a rather well-known myth that describes the romance of Cupid and Scythe, goddess of the soul. How does she not know about that? Scythe is probably her adopted mother, but she might think the story doesn't apply to her for several reasons. That she is adopted, that she has siblings, and one of them is destined for a Scythe-like story, that she attended Monster High first, or simply that she is a myth and not a fairy tale prosper. Agreed. Cupid outright states that she is not a fairy tale and she's not a monster either. She just goes where she's needed. Thus, Cupid doesn't have a story to fulfill since she's not a part of this world. Mattel went behind Disney's back to create Ever After High. This seems pretty possible considering what we talked about in the past couple of layers, but let's reiterate. In July of 2013, Mattel released the Ever After High doll line. Later that year, in December of 2013, Disney announced the production of Descendants. Because of the timing, it's possible that Mattel was aware of the production of Descendants, yet they still decided to go through with creating Ever After High. Ginger Witch. Ginger Witch is in reference to the character Gingerbread House. According to a timeline developed in the r/Ever After High subreddit by user Abarid, titled Ever After High Timeline, this is what it says about Ginger. Ginger Witch was bullied for being the daughter of the Candy Witch. It got so bad enough that she was pulled out of school and was homeschooled for the rest of elementary. This incident may have been the reason that Ginger and Faye Belle stopped playing with one another. She went back to school for middle school, but changed her name to Ginger Breadhouse. 3 years in middle school, and Ginger lashes at her mother because she was frustrated because of whom her mother was. Ginger's mom, the next day, takes Ginger to a spa. Candy gets a total makeover and new clothing so that she would look less like a witch for her daughter. Apple fell and almost drowned in a well. In the first Ever After High book, the Storybook of Legends, it's revealed that when Apple was 6, she fell into a well and nearly drowned, causing her to have a phobia of wells and water. Raven's father is the Good King. It's revealed in the books only that Raven's father is the Good King, who takes care of Raven since her mother's imprisonment. Cerise is destined to be the next big bad wolf. This seems pretty reasonable considering many things. 1. Cerise was intended to be an only child, meaning Ramona isn't in the picture for this. 2. Cerise does have wolf ears just like her father. And 3. The South Diego Comic-Con doll of Cerise as the big bad wolf could be the dead giveaway that this is the destiny meant for Cerise. Maddie is technically a royal. According to the Ever After High wiki, Madeline Hatter, Maddie as her friends call her for short, is proud of her destiny as the next Mad Hatter, but believes that everyone should get to choose their own destiny. It is because of this and her loyalty to her friend Raven Queen that Madeline chose to be a rebel, despite her opportunities to become a royal. Raven's mom turned Raven's puppy into a dead rat. According to the Ever After High wiki, in the first book, the evil queen attempts to nudge her daughter towards evil, taking her to war meetings and disliking her energetic puppy, Prince, viewing it as not appropriate for her daughter and hair. So she made a puppy potion to improve him, which turned him into a bone rat with black fur and red eyes, which the queen renamed him Bubbleneck. I think that's how you pronounce it. It was Prince's transformation that encouraged Raven to not want to be like her mother. Raven and Ginger were bullied and isolated when they were younger. Going back to the timeline made by Redditor Baron, Ginger had been bullied because she was the daughter of the Candy Witch, hence why she changed her last name. With Raven on the other hand, it was mentioned in Raven's diary in the Storybook of Legends book that Raven talks about how most of her childhood and teen years she was bullied by other children and isolated from parents because everyone believed that she was evil just like her mother, which made them cautious around Raven. The parents are not the first generation of fairy tale characters. This can be proven true, as fairy tales have existed for thousands of years, and what happened was that some became so popular to the point that they were passed down to new generations so that those certain stories can continue and be retold. Ever After High was only discovered in 1812, and the show takes place around the 2010s, meaning that the parents must have attended Ever After High in the 1980s or around then. This means that the parents such as the Evil Queen, Snow White, and many others were not the first generation of fairy tale characters. Instead, just another generation continuing their family story. Darlene knew a hidden path into Wonderland. In Darlene's diary, when Raven accidentally teleports Darlene into Wonderland, at first she didn't know she was in Wonderland until she met the White Knight, who told her that she was in Wonderland. After her conversation with the White Knight, she was able to find her way back to Ever After High. From that point on, she knew her way to Wonderland. The Evil Queen was scared to live alone. When Raven's South Diego Comic-Con doll came out, it came with a letter that was written by her mother. The letter reads as follows: "If you are reading this, then you finally have embraced your powers. For years, the spell of this mirror prison prevented me from speaking the truth. However, now you will be able to truly understand my side. Back when I was at Ever After High, everyone followed the whole follow your destiny nonsense. What's the line they always say? There are no short stories or tall tales, but when you're a villain, people hate and fear you. So I stole the Storybook of Legends, the artifact that magically bound us to our destinies, and replaced it with a magical replica that had none of its true power. I wasn't going to just accept that I must live out the rest of my days alone and reviled. But then something unexpected happened. I fell in love with a good king. And eventually you, my baby girl, came into my life. When I looked into your eyes, it was like my heart was looking back at me. I didn't need a magic mirror to tell me you were the fairest. However, not everyone saw you like that. People ran in fear, scared of who you would become. I would not stand idly by while my beautiful daughter was destined to be subject of their ignorance. So I vowed to do something about it. I was going to reshape the fairy tale world in my image, in our image. They would have no choice but to love me/us. That's why I always pushed you to be evil, and we are only a few steps away. Continue down the path, trust your dark instincts, and let's rule this world as mother and daughter. Know that I love you with all the malice in my heart, your mother, the evil queen. This letter was explanation from the evil queen why she wanted full control of Ever After and wanted Raven to be evil. It was because she was scared to live alone, due to her feeling as if she had to follow her destiny. Hence why she rebelled against it. I wasn't going to just accept that I must live out the rest of my days alone and reviled, the evil queen. Apple White only wants her happily ever after so that she doesn't die and can please her mother, retrospective. Honestly, that can be pretty plausible, but we do see many instances where Apple seems to want her destiny, but has the added pressure of pleasing her mother. As we talked about, Snow White seems to heavily pressure Apple into ensuring she gets her happily ever after, and that means by any means possible. According to a post made in the r/EverAfterHigh subreddit by Redditor Dracuzora, they make the post titled "In Defense of Apple White." Apple is pressured by 3 adults over the whole series to be the perfect Snow White, not to mention by her peers. She has to be perfect because her mother was. She doesn't only care about her story, she genuinely believes because she puts so much trust in the adults in her life, because she is a child, that if people don't follow their destinies, they will die or be hurt, and she does not want that. I do not think all of her actions are okay, but she isn't this evil monster. She's a kid who has been pressured and abused her whole life into being perfect and molded into these views. She isn't selfish in her motives. In fact, in motives, Raven is the selfish one. She was willing to sacrifice everyone because she didn't want to follow her story, which is fair. Her story is a crap circus. Apple probably also wasn't aware of the outcomes everyone had to go through and thought once they lived out their story, they can do whatever they wanted, as she was led to believe life would be perfect. Once she is confronted with how life-changing signing the storybook was for Raven, her views changed very, very quickly because there was nobody around to pressure her into the views and what they wanted to happen. However, back in the Dragon games, she had 3 adults all pressuring her, which was too much, causing her to break down back into her old ways. In fact, even more desperate so that they would stop pressuring her for this one thing. She had accepted that the views were wrong and her actions were too at the start, to quote a conversation between her mother and her. Snow White, maybe there's a way you could nudge Raven towards evil? Apple White, I wouldn't do that. She didn't want to. She knew that it wasn't Raven and forcing it was wrong, but because of the pressuring and abuse she was under by 2 people she placed her trust in, and one who was blackmailing her, she reverted. Duchess is the daughter of Odile/an Odette theory. This theory, posted in the r/EverAfterHigh subreddit by user Phantom Highland, reads as follows. The Black Swan is supposed to try to trick the prince into falling for her instead of the White Swan. The Black Swan, quote-unquote, steals the prince from the White Swan, kinda like how Duchess tried to steal Ashlyn Ella's destiny. She's supposed to be Odette's daughter. If this is true, that would mean that Duchess Swan is a princess. But that is another problem. In her diary, Mrs. Her Majesty the White Queen does not recognize her as a princess. That makes sense though. The wizard's daughter was not a princess, so neither is Duchess. There is another layer of ambiguity. In Next Top Villain, it was said that she is being raised by her grandparents. This would make sense since Odette chose to live as a swan. But I find this to be more like how Cerise is being raised by a quote-unquote single mother and Ramona is being raised by a quote-unquote single father. It could be possible that being Odette's daughter is a lie and her grandparents are raising her to help cover up the lie. Another problem with her supposedly being the White Swan is that it doesn't make sense that there can be a White Swan but no Black Swan. the white swan is supposed to have her prince taken from her by the black swan. So there can't be a white swan without a black swan, because then the white swan can live peacefully with her prince. Except Apple proved that destiny can be fulfilled by other means, when she had Raven's mother agreed to poison her instead. But that would mean that Duchess, if she is the white swan, wouldn't have to steal anyone's destiny because she won't have a bad fairy tale ending because the villain in her story doesn't even exist. If the black swan is supposed to steal the prince from the white swan, then again, like how Apple just jumped through extra hoops to fulfill her destiny, all the black swan has to do is steal someone's destiny to fulfill her own. Sorta like how she tried to steal Ash and Ella's destiny. Oh yeah, also, in the True Hearts Day videos, when she swims across the lake with Sparrow Hood to catch Hunter and Ashlyn on their date, there she is, transformed into a black swan. Here's the clip right now. Now I see what the OP means. I get it because Duchess is, if she's supposed to be the white swan, why is her form a black swan when she transforms? It makes sense. Don't get me wrong, it makes sense. But even earlier, she is talking about how Ashlyn gets to have it happily ever after, yet she doesn't, just like the Redditor had mentioned in their post.
Why do you even care?
I care because it's not fair. Ashlyn is breaking the royal rules with her secret romance, but she still gets a happily ever after, and I don't.
This is genuinely confusing me, and I want to know more about this because it's actually pretty interesting. So I searched up, is Duchess Swan the black swan? And this is what it says on the Ever After High wiki. Duchess Swan doesn't want to be a villain or a rebel, so even though she doesn't act like it most of the time, she chooses the part of a white swan instead of a black swan forever after. Despite this, Duchess is a black swan when she transforms. So unless what the Redditor said was true, that she alternates between the white swan and the black swan, then she could be her own villain, I guess you can say. And like her with her jealousy and tendencies and stuff could be like her villain side coming out. Something like that. I think because the show ended prematurely, we could have gotten a bit more deeper meaning into Duchess's past, but we never did, so. Darlene was locked up in a tower for the majority of her childhood. According to one of the books, Darlene's parents locked her up in a tower for the main reason being that she drew a lot of attention from boys asking her to marry her due to her beauty. Bruda and Bella, The Tale of Two Sisters. The Tale of Two Sisters is the prequel Ever After High book in the series by Shannon Hale. According to the Ever After High wiki, Bruda and Bella are 2013 introduced and book-only characters. They were students at Ever After High, and Bruda was destined to be betrayed by her sister and be saved by her butterflies. But because she and her sister had a good relationship, they had planned to run away before Legacy Day. She and her sister were never seen again, and their fairy tale was erased from collective memory. Some fans think that Bruda and Bella could have escaped to Monster High, which does make sense, but other fans, such as on Reddit, have theories of their own. According to a post made in the r/Ever After High subreddit by user Abarid, this is what their theory is. What happened to Bella and Bruda's sister? This is an old classic theory of mine. If you don't know, Raven finds out about two old students, Bella and Bruda's sister, from Tales of Two Sisters. Generations ago, neither of the sisters wanted to hurt one another, so they, quote-unquote, left this world and hoped for a better one. And since then, we don't know what really happened. All we know is that their story went quote-unquote poof. So I think I may have figured out what has happened to the sisters. It's crazy, but I love it. The theme of the show is, the end is just the beginning. The title of the story is called The Tale of Two Sisters, which tale is another word for story, such as related to Story of a Rebel and Story of a Royal, the two first episodes of Ever After High. Bella was the beautiful sister, Bruda was the ugly sister. They both left this world and hoped for a better one. Raven is treated as the ugly witch, Apple is treated as the beautiful princess. Both of them almost have a sister-like relationship. Apple also has a fear of wells, which is also in relation to Bella and Bruda. The theory: Raven and Apple are reincarnations of Bella and Bruda. This is more or less the world's idea of trying to get the sisters to sign the book they didn't long ago. MGA was going to make a fairy tale doll line. In summer 2016, Bratz fans uncovered a video on Vimeo titled Bratz Twisted Sizzle. The video was uploaded by someone working for Stupid Buddy Studios, the animation studio behind I Know What the Bratz Did Last Summer and the Bratz CIY Shop series, and was shortly removed from the platform after fans began posting about it. This line never made it to production, and it's unclear if it was intended to be a Bratz spin-off or a completely separate line. It's believed to be a concept of a potentially new doll line about fairy tale, specifically princesses, to compete with Mattel. Even though we truly don't know why it was scrapped, it was theorized that it was because of Ever After High. The video only became popular in 2016, so the actual concept might have been made just right before Ever After High was released, as competing with Mattel. But after Ever After High's announcement, they had to drop it, so they wouldn't be accused of stealing from Mattel. The White Knight trained Darling. According to Darling's diary, after Darling saved the White Knight from his captivity, he convinced Darling to be the next White Knight after she asked how to get back to Ever After. He replies with, "You're a true hero, you'll find a way," giving her courage to follow her true destiny, training her to be the hero of her own story, leading to Darling being the next White Knight. Raven wants to become an author. At the end of the book, The Legend of Shadow High, after the worlds are separated again, Raven decides that she wants to be an author, where she writes stories about the world she lives in and what goes around it. What's a story without its villain, the Evil Queen? Those were the Evil Queen's last words and appearance in the Ever After High franchise, before she sacrifices herself to seal Shadow High and the Unmaking Lava to save all storybook worlds. Maddie and Kitty are technically homeless. In Once Upon a Time, in Maddie's story, it's pointed out that Maddie and Kitty can't leave Ever After High because it's the only type of shelter and food they could get, as Wonderland was cursed, which obviously they had to escape from, leaving them with nothing. Ever After High concept trailer. In 2012, Big Pick Studio created a concept development of Ever After High, named Thunder High. It was a stop-motion short which depicted Apple White going through a forest in which she stumbles across two paths. While deciding, she encounters with Cerise Hood, who tells her that she's going the wrong way, when suddenly they're interrupted by Tiny. After running away from Tiny, Apple and Cerise come across Thunder High, in which Cerise is very displeased about. In that same moment, they are interrupted by Tiny again. Both Cerise and Apple greet Tiny, and then Tiny gives Apple her books that she dropped in the forest. The short is actually reused in a scene in the special Apple Tale, A Story of a Royal.
Can I carry your books?
Why, Tiny? Aren't you the sweetest little thing? Thank you.
Gigi and Wisp Grant technically come from the Ever After High world. Gigi and Wisp are storybook characters that come from a fairy tale Arabian Nights. This would mean that they would come from the Ever After High world, and it's further proven from the fact that they knew who Giles Grimm was. The reason why they settled in Monster High was mostly due to them being stuck in a genie bottle for hundreds of years, completely forgetting Ever After High and Giles. The little to unknown production of Ever After High. There isn't a lot of information about the development of Ever After High. All we know is that Ever After High was first meant to be Cosmic High, until it was scrapped due to Novi Stars. After it was a doll line of witches, but that was also scrapped due to Bratzillas, which then made Mattel to make a princess/fairy tale doll line. When actually creating the franchise, we were only given pop culture inspirations, many of them being the British royal family, Once Upon a Time, Enchanted, and Snow White and the Huntsman. After that, the Ever After High concept trailer was created to give an idea of what Ever After High and the world would look like. It also introduced early concepts of Apple, Cerise, and Tiny. Lastly, there were profiles made for Apple, Raven, Maddie, and Briar, while showing early sketches of them, but sadly, this is only what we know about the development of Ever After High. Hey guys, before we continue on to the next layer, I want to give a huge thank you to Q_Pikachu for helping me with this video. They helped me with several entries throughout the Iceberg, and most importantly, layers 7 and 8. Thank you so much again, and let's continue with the video. Fairies can die if the characters don't follow their destinies. In Farah's diary, the three council fairies tell Farah that if Ashlyn doesn't follow her story, Farah will die since fairies are made of magic and are different from most people in Ever After High, meaning fairies are at a greater risk at dying. The blue-haired fairy's death. This is also mentioned in Farah's diary that the three council fairies told Farah that due to Raven's rebel movement, fairies were also following along, and one of those fairies was the blue-haired fairy in Pinocchio's story. Due to her and Cedar not wanting to follow their destinies, the blue-haired fairy suddenly went poof without any trace left of her, obviously meaning she died. Witchy Brew. Witchy Brew was a character in the book The Storybook of Legends, in which at the beginning of the book we are shown Raven and Apple 1 year younger and watching the year above signing the Storybook of Legends to fulfill their story. One of those students was Witchy Brew, who Raven and Apple saw crying when signing the book. It's believed that she was the daughter of the Candy Witch from Gretel and Greta, and most likely, she didn't want to follow in her mother's footsteps. It's also believed that she might have been a prototype for Ginger, however it was never confirmed. The Evil Queen has also cursed other worlds like the Wizard of Oz and Neverland. In the book A Wonderlandful World, we are told that the Evil Queen has cursed Wonderland, while also other worlds have been cursed as well. That being, the Wizard of Oz and Neverland are two other worlds that we are given in the book. Giles tried to connect Ever After High to the Monster High world. This one is more so a theory, but basically, it's believed that the reason why Grimm knew Gigi and let them out so freely out of their lamp was that it can somehow allow both worlds of Ever After High and Monster High to connect, since Gigi and Wisp are believed to be from Ever After High, due to them being characters from a fairy tale rather than a horror book/franchise. The World of Stories. In the book Legend of Shadow High, we are told that in World of Stories there are many lands. Lands of Adventure, Land of Mythological Stories, Cupid, Land of Holiday Stories, Romance, Superhero, Mystery, Wonderland, as well as Monsters, Monster High, and Fairy Tales, Ever After High, which at one point in history they were all connected. Misdirection. Misdirection was a narrator that believed that narrators should have complete power over the stories. So, she created a school where narrators could control worlds through greater power. Later afterwards, creating Shadow High. This led to the consequence of unmaking lava, which spread to the World of Stories, which would unmake everything it touched. Basically, she's the reason why most lands and worlds don't remember each other. The Lost Library. A record of all stories that have been lost in time, fairy tale characters that have died and were unable to continue their story with future generations. One example being Bruda and Bella from The Tale of Two Sisters, who disappeared with time when not wanting to follow their destinies, making their story completely forgotten by the Ever After world, meaning that no one remembers them or their story. Rule 34. Ultimately, if you know, you know. I'm not really going to touch on this, but all I'm going to say is if it exists, it has Rule 34 drawn of it. Expectation dolls. Expectation/prototype dolls were what certain dolls were meant to look like, or just early concepts of them. Sadly, due to not knowing a lot about the production of Ever After High dolls, we are not sure whether they are real or fake. Only 3 have come out, with it being Duchess, Hopper, and Kitty. Monster High and Ever After High crossover doll box leak. Someone on Reddit posted a seemed-to-be prototype artwork of the doll crossover between Monster High and Ever After High. However, it was just a joke. It was an artist's drawing of a more gruesome Ever After High. It was more of insight of what a possible Ever After High and Monster High collab would look like. The Evil Queen War. In the book A Wonderlandful World, we are told that the Evil Queen waged a war on Ever After High, while collaborating with other villains, the Jabberwocky only being the one mentioned. Later on, she cursed Wonderland. Shadow High/New Reboot Wave Theory. This theory, posted by the redditor Abarid in the r/Ever After High subreddit, makes mention of this theory. This is how the theory goes. Monster High Reboot Wave Theory. Ever After High connection. DC Superhero Girls cartoon reboot. Okay, so what did we learn from Shadow High? We learned that the World of Stories was once whole. that stories about monsters, fairy tales, holiday stories, superhero stories, stories of gods and goddesses, and many other stories coexisted. Assuming stories of gods and goddesses is related to Cupid, and superhero stories may be a small reference to the DC superhero girls since Mattel has their toy line, and in Shadow High, Santa Claus's daughter appears. I'm just using one Destiny's Claus OC as a reference point. So in conclusion, Monster High, Ever After High, the DC superhero girls, and Santa Claus's daughter, and Cupid, all of them coexist with one another. If Darling is Apple's Destiny Charming, then why does Daring show up in her storybook signing? Let's go back to the Legacy Day special, when Apple signs a storybook of legends. We're shown a snippet of Apple's future. Apple and Daring are both shown together, implying that Daring is meant to be her Prince Charming. Yet, during the Dragon Game special, he failed to wake her up. So either one of two things happened. One, we've established that the storybook of legends is a fake. So this could have caused a discrepancy with her future, meaning that Darling is her actual Destiny Charming, and it was a mistake that Daring was meant to be her Destiny Charming. Or two, the most likely option, it was a plot hole error, which Ever After High has many of. But I really wanted to add this into the iceberg because it had questioned me when I heard that Darling was Apple's Destiny Charming. It questioned me so much, how come in the beginning we were shown Daring as her Prince Charming? But like I said, I think it could have been a plot hole reason, but I'd like to hear what you guys think about this. Hunter and Ashlyn's relationship would be seen as interclass. Because of Ashlyn being a royal and Hunter being a rebel, it can be seen as a possible interclass relationship since the royals have higher influence than the rebels do. So what does that mean for other characters like Dexter and Raven, Darling and Apple? Probably the same thing since they're royal rebel couples. But the amount of people, mainly Apple, telling Ashlyn, but you're a royal and he's a rebel, it adds to this being like it's looked down upon. You get me, guys? It's looked a little down upon, at least in the beginning of the show. So, hair discrimination. This may seem far-fetched to some of you, but when you really think about it, there are many instances of hair discrimination in Ever After High. In the books, it's made very prevalent that Apple is the first Snow White, born with blonde hair, causing Apple to be quote-unquote bullied for being a blonde. And the book indirectly asks its audience to pity her for this flaw that she can't help, which is a big issue, especially considering our society and how we view people with blonde hair compared to, of course, the book. Another instance, according to the Ever After High wiki, is brought up in Briar's diary. Briar expresses annoyance at Blondie insisting that only a princess could have gorgeous golden curls like mine, within a context in which Briar is the only POC royal. Blonde hair gets the full white-only treatment, and most of her peers are blonde. It's rather difficult not to interpret Briar's reaction racially, which would be fine writing except for the way it first requires a diversity balance among the royals that is backwards and messed up on. Another instance could also be mentioned in the Secret Hearts diary. It is shown that one of the requirements listed for princessology is quote-unquote silky smooth hair. Overall, I think y'all cannot overlook that this was a big issue, and I think it's not really talked about at all in the fandom, and I think people who do know about it choose not to talk about it. And to be honest with you all, I never actually looked into it growing up until last year when I was working on making a video, and this is why I really wanted to bring it into this iceberg video and add it to the layer. Ever After High is an indirect allegory for racial hierarchy. Lastly, this may be a big stretch, but hear me out. As mentioned, Ever After High seems to portray somewhat as a hierarchy, with the royals potentially holding more power due to royal status, whereas the rebels are at a lower standard due to either being villains or characters without royal status. If we're not taking into account the soft reboot and the characters that came with it, most of the royals are white-coded characters, except for characters like Briar, who is the only POC character within the Royals, while the Rebels have more characters coded to be other races, like Hunter, Cerise, Cedar, and Ginger. This can be interpreted to indirectly showcase a racial hierarchy amongst the students, as well as an ever-after society. Like I said, this was a bit of a stretch, but I incorporated this in here because of how most of the characters are mainly white. I would like to hear what you guys think about this down below. So my final thoughts on this video have to be, I did it, y'all. I did it, finally. I know it took me a month to get this done. Well, technically like a month and a year, but I finally made the video, guys. I'm so happy you all patiently waited for me to work on this video. And I know I had promised the Hidden Society Iceberg. The only thing though is I had felt really bad that I promised you all this video last year and I had never started. So I was like, you know what? Let me put this video first and then I'll continue with the Hidden Society Iceberg. That one is currently in scripting, guys. So right now I am in layer 2 scripting the video. So bear with me, guys. Hopefully I will have that video out in July or before I go off to college. So guys, bear with me, I'm working on it. I want to give another big shout out and thank you to Q_Pikachu. This is the first time I ever got help with an iceberg image, and I'm so happy that they helped me with this video, especially because when it comes to iceberg images, guys, it gets really tricky finding the stuff at the bottom of the iceberg. So thank you so much for your help, and you did an amazing job on this iceberg. Thank you so much. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it took me so long, and I'm sorry it's over an hour and like 10 minutes. I apologize for that, but I really wanted to come back strong with a new iceberg video because, like I said, it's been a hot minute since I last did one. I really hope you all enjoy it. I really hope you all are doing well. I think that's it. So yeah, for some of these entries in the video, I may do whole separate videos talking about them, so stay tuned for that, and let me know if you guys really want to see them because I'm down to make them. Anyway, so I guess that's it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Comment down below what else you guys want me to talk about on this channel. And yeah, that's it. Stay safe, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on my channel. Bye, guys.